Lucy here with a process video for Peartree Cufiles. Each month the lovely Marie asks the design team to create a layout with the same cut file, and this month in June we created with the beautiful butterfly borders, which is this lovely full-size border of butterflies. And I have decided to use a technique with alcohol inks for my layout. So I'm starting here with the cut file cut in white cardstock, and I have a sheet of Yupo paper underneath. Never quite sure how to say that. I've bought it in big sheets. They're A3 size, and I've cut this down so that it will fit my A12, my 12 by 12 page. I've laid the cut file over, not because I want to use it as a stencil, but because I want it as a guide to where the alcohol ink is going to be on the layout, because I don't want to cover the whole thing. And I'm using the cut file as a guide. It's not the cut file I'm going to use on the final layout. I've got that cut in a dark sort of slate grey. As you can see there, I'm adding the alcohol inks in a variety of kind of greens and pinks. I have some vintage photographs of, I say vintage, that makes me feel really old because they're of me as a toddler. So I've got some photographs from my childhood, and I really had in my head kind of a quite whimsical fairy tale type look to this layout. And the colours on the photographs, I've gone with the colours from the photographs to use the greens and pinks that you'll see when I place the photos. Those colours look a bit corally there as well. There is some a shade of pink that is a little more coral in tone. I think I've got a salmon. I think salmon is one of them. Shell pink is another. I've got citrus. And some other, I can't remember what all of the colours are. I should have written them down, sorry. So I'm just adding the alcohol inks. I'm dripping them, adding some alcohol blender to move the inks about, and then also using my applicator tool with the felt applicator to move the inks around a bit more. So now I've got the inks in place. So the inker is on the page where I want the areas that I want it to be. I've taken the cut file off, and I'm now going back in with more inks and blending solution and my applicator tools to kind of apply more colour. But I know now where I want the edges to stop. I know the areas that I want the alcohol inks to sit in. So I'm just continuing to dab with my applicators and the alcohol inks to get, and there's no right or wrong with these. I love playing with alcohol inks. You get different effects every time, and it's just a case of continuing to play until you're happy. So that's what I'm doing. And I have some mixative there as well in a pearl, so I'm adding some of that in too. Continuing to just dab and add and play until I like the effects. Just trying to bring in some of the green into the pink to blend the colours slightly. Now I'm moving on to my technique for this, which is I'm using the alcohol lift ink. So applying it to my stamp, that's a Tim Holtz stamp, and applying the ink to the stamp, stamping over the alcohol ink, blotting the area, and then rubbing with just a piece of kitchen towel, and it lifts the ink, and you can see there the script from my stamp kind of really popping through. It's almost like an effect you get with a resist technique, but you're lifting the ink off. And you can also then stamp the stamp onto some porous cardstock, and the alcohol ink will leave a stamped impression. So So you get kind of two for the price of one. I'm carrying on around the edge of my layout background. I'd already started on the right hand side, so I'm just finishing off the final edges with that technique. And it's just lovely watching, blotting and then sort of rubbing away the ink and watching the images pop through. And I've got a still coming up in a minute of a close-up just to show you that finished result a bit more closely. And now I have the cut file that I'm going to use on the layout. This is, as I said, cut in a kind of a slate dark grey. And I've just used my ink pen around the straight edges. I haven't glued ink pen, I meant glue pen. I haven't glued any of the butterflies. I want them to be loose on the page to give a little bit of movement. And it also means that if I want to tuck anything under them, I can do that quite easily. And they're just trimming off the edges from the Yupo paper. They're my photographs, having a look to see where I want those to be. And the Yupo and the cut file are just slightly smaller than 12 by 12, so I'm going to be adding a border as well, but I haven't quite decided what colour yet. I want to kind of build up my layout to see what colour is going to work. And I've now decided that I want to add some stamping. Would have been far more sensible to do this before I put the cut file on, but I was so excited to get the cut file over that background because I had in my head how I wanted it to look and I just kind of couldn't wait to put it together. That I didn't think about stamping until afterwards. But because I haven't stuck those butterflies down, it's not too tricky. So I'm just kind of using the stamp in the palm of my hand there to get some sort of distressed stamping. I'm really sorry. My neighbour has just decided to take this moment to start strimming in his garden. So I'm very sorry if there's a lot of background noise going on. Continuing to stamp with this little dotty stamp. And it's an archival ink pad there in grey. I can't remember what it's called. I've been a bit rubbish, haven't I? I should have written the names down of things that I've used. I'm so sorry. Oh, watering can, that's what it's called. Oh, it just suddenly came to me. So just adding some dots in there for a little bit more detail. Now I've got my photographs and I have picked out a collection of ephemera from different Vicky Bouton collections. I've got some from Storyteller. I think there's some from Honey and Wildflower and probably some from Field Notes as well. I love how they all work together and I'm wanting, like I said, a real kind of fairy tale whimsical look to this page. So I've picked out some of the foliage and the accents from those ephemera packs. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of always end up with more ephemera left than papers. I don't know why, but I've got quite a lot of ephemera left from those collections. I've still got some papers too, but lots of ephemera. I think I had 2 packs of some of them, which might explain it. So just using this title, which is on craft. I love craft, and I like that old vintage ruler down the bottom there as well. Using my silicone glue so that title is raised for a bit of dimension. And then I'm going to tuck in my pieces of ephemera around the photographs. I've got the foliage there. Oh, just picking off some glue that's seeped out. I've got those daisies, are they? I don't know, cone flowers, something, I don't know. They're pretty and they're from, I think they believe from the Wildflower and Honey collection. So I'm using those to kind of frame the photographs. Just tucking them behind. I've got those really cute mushrooms, which I think kind of add to that whole whimsical, almost like a fairy garden look. Tucking those in there and just seeing what else I want to build up around the photographs. I like those leaves, but I think they're a bit too green. I want to pop that beautiful butterfly up the top there with that foiling on. So I have placed that there, so that as I'm adding the ephemera around my photographs, I kind of keep an eye on the balance of the page. Looking on the sticker sheets and the cardstock stickers for other elements that I can use. Got that, there's a rose sticker there that's from the Colour Story collection. And I kind of like that banner and thought I might want to use that, but then decided that I couldn't, wasn't really happy with it anywhere I tried. So I've got those leaves there, and they're a bit of a softer green. So I'm going to tuck those in. I've chopped some of them off so that I have some extras to use on the other side, and it makes it easier to just tuck them in. Going with that rose, I think it's a cardstock sticker that I've just popped in there. Popping on the mushrooms, and you can see, if you can see, there's a gap between the bottom of my photograph and the top of the word remember, and that's bugging me, and I really want to put something in there. So I'm going to be looking, for me, it kind of disrupts the flow. So I've found that flower there, which kind of fills that gap and brings it all together. And now adding some smaller pieces. I always start with the big pieces first and work my way down when I'm building up these clusters, and got to have some word strips and stickers because I love them. I use them in pretty much anything. Got another little flower sticker. This floral sticker gives me more trouble than the whole of the rest of the layout put together. I just can't get it to sit in a position that I'm happy with, and I fiddle around with it for ages. I popped it in there, and I may even go back to it later, you'll see. Still not quite right, but anyway, it's there for now. Sticking on that vellum butterfly, and then these are some layered stickers from, again, they're from Storyteller. Popping that up there, just adding some more dimension. The larger butterfly I've only stuck in the middle, so there's some movement on the rest of it. And reducing in size again down with some smaller butterflies dotted around my photograph clusters. And now I've got some more stickers and adding some more word strips. I'm a bit bothered by the mushrooms on the right hand side. They're floating. There's kind of nothing. Oh, there you see, fiddling with that flower again. Those mushrooms and the flowers on the right hand side are floating. There's kind of nothing anchoring them. So I've put some word strips on the left, which just sort of grounds the ephemera above it. And I'm just going to look for something similar to use under the mushrooms as well. Probably some word strips, because I love word strips, and they're just really useful for popping under. So it's like a little shelf that it's sitting on, just sort of grounding that cluster of embellishments there. I've added those 3 little tiny small butterflies in the darker colour. And they form a visual triangle around the page, and because they're in that dark colour, they kind of draw your eye around the page. And now I'm going to add my border. I do like making life difficult for myself, because again, this would have been much easier to do before I had constructed the rest of the page, but I just wasn't quite sure what colour I wanted, and I wanted to finish get the predominant embellishments done before I chose the colour. And this is actually a Paige Taylor Evans sheet from Wonders, because I hadn't got any Vicky Boughton green left to use, and I wanted a green sheet. It's one of those pages where I bought it for the butterflies and have ended up using for the other side. And I'm sticking that onto a 12 by 12 sheet of just plain white cardstock first, because the Yupo paper is very thin, so it needs something substantial behind it. Otherwise the page would be too floppy. And I've gutted the green because I've got that square of pretty butterflies to use for something else then. So just constructing that base to put my Yupo on. So I can't turn it over to put the tape on the back of that, because all of my embellishments will squish because the glue's not quite dry yet, so needing to do it that way round. And now I've got on to the very tiny finishing details. Anybody think I've got a little bit of a Nouveau obsession? That's just my pink basket. I've got another couple with greens and blues and things in. I love them. So just popping on some Peartree pieces there in the cork. These are the etched hearts, and I wanted to use the cork pieces because they just bring in that same tone as the title and the ruler. So adding some more of that kind of craft colour into the page. And then I'm using that soft pink Nouveau drops for some added embellishments. And that's my layout done. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you here again soon. Bye.